So you're out at the range, and you got your A game going on, and you've got one of the best targets you've ever shot. Beautiful group, and you pull it down, and you take it back to your bench, and you're going to take a photo for Facebook. And a guy walks by, and he goes, "Oh, is that the best your rifle does?" And you're like, "Sir?" And he goes, "Yeah, my rifle does that poor on a bad day." And you're like, "Really? Where is that rifle? I'd love to see it and shoot it." "Well, it's at home right now." The 22 tack driver plus P is a mythical rifle. And we're going to talk about that mythical tactical rifle, incredible shooting group. I mean, these people make tall tales so tall that they make lying fishermen look like midgets with their tall tales. And we're going to talk about those tack driving plus P mythical 22 rifles, and that's coming up next on Mostly 22 LR. Hey everybody, Rob Rosenberger here for Mostly 22 LR. There are three problems that I have when people tell me about how incredibly accurate their rifles are, and they don't have that rifle there, and they're bragging like the braggarts that they usually are. The first problem that I have with these rifles is, namely, the rifle itself. "Oh yeah, my granddaddy himself gave me that rifle. It's a Model 39A from Marlin, one of the first 10 ever produced. Possibly one of the first 8, but we're not sure. As a matter of fact, my grandpappy handed it to me, and he said, 'Son, you are my favorite grandson, and I want you to have my most cherished possession.' And then he said, 'Ugh!' and he died. That's how important this rifle is to me. I'll never be able to release it. It's that good, and it shoots so great, it's amazing. I barely ever have to clean it. It cleans itself." People, those rifles don't exist for at least $1,000, and I haven't found one that cleans itself yet unless it's made by Jaguar out in the UK. So if you think that your rifle is that be-all to end-all, you need to look at that rifle and say, what's that barrel look like? What does the action feel like? How does this handle? Is it really that kind of a great shooter that you think that it is? The rifle is the number one problem that I have with these tack-driving insane guys. The second problem that I have with these tack driving 22 long rifles is the ammunition they use. When you ask them what type of ammunition they use anything. They can't even remember what ammunition they use. I've got a lot of ammo, but I happen to know for each of my rifles which one shoots which ammo the best. They're like, "Oh yeah, just go buying anything. I go down to Walmart and I see which one's on sale, and it might be a Remington today, and it might be a Winchester tomorrow, and it might be a Federal the day after that. If I feel really frisky, I might buy some CCI. But, I generally just choose a 36 or a 37 or a 38 grain or a 39 grain or a 40 grain or a 41 or a 42 grain, maybe a 45 grain, sometimes a 55 grain, maybe a 60 grain, that sniper subsonic round, and I just shoot whatever." I said, "Wait, what?" That's the problem. Ammunition is the number two big thing that makes a rifle not shoot like a tack driver. And last but not least, the shooter himself. This person, if you could get them behind your rifle, remember, he doesn't have his mythical tack driver, you'll find out that he might not even hold the rifle correctly. He won't have consistent trigger pull. He won't have his finger in the proper place on the trigger half the time anyway. There's any number of things that he'll be doing wrong. He'll probably be arcing back and forth because he doesn't know how to hold the rifle offhand. And he's looking for it to swing through the arc so that he can pull the trigger, and he jerks it real quick. There's just any number of things wrong. And when you finally go down range after shooting 10 rounds, and you look and you go, "Man, I only count 6 of the rounds here." "Well, and then he'll tell you about everything that's wrong with your rifle and why his rifle shoots so much better. "My rifle does so much better. Yours is kind of off." And then you tell him that it's a $700 rifle. And he goes, "Well, my arthritis is kicking up." "Wait a minute, you're 27 years old." "Well, I just got over measles, mumps, rubella, something like that. I think I got muscular dystrophy, or I don't know. It's probably polio. It'll go away in a couple of days, and then I'll be able to shoot perfectly." It's always everything but the shooter. And that's the number 3 problem that I have with these mythical tack driving 22 guys. So what am I trying to teach you here? Well, I'm trying to teach you that there are these guys out there. If you go to a range often enough, you've already met them. If you haven't gone to a range often enough yet, you will meet them. And, humor them. Hand them 10 rounds and see what they shoot. If nothing else, what I like to do with these guys these days, and I'm kind of vicious on this point, and I'm not afraid to say it, I will give them 10 rounds of some really good ammo. I'll hand them my best rifle. I'll let them shoot. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to figure out what they're doing wrong so that I can look back at myself to see if I'm doing that right. And that lesson that I learned from them is valuable to me. It's worth the 10 shots that they take, and more importantly, it's worth my time to watch them blame everything but themselves and their mythical rifle for why they shot so bad. I'm Rob Rosenberger for Mostly 22LR. And remember, 22LR is real ammunition. Treat it as such. Why, just the other day I was out plinking with my 22 long rifle, that mythical tack driving plus P rifle of mine that my grandpappy gave to me on his dying breath. And I was with my little boy, and it was his first time shooting, and I wanted to make a good impression. And we were shooting across the Dan Ryan Expressway out there in Chicago, you know. And 150 yards out, I see two squirrels making love. And I know they was 150 yards out because I measured it with my calibrated eye. And I said to my son, which of those squirrels do you want me to shoot? And he said, Daddy, that is a disgusting thing they're doing. I don't want you to kill them. I want you to teach them a lesson. I want you to shoot off their genitalia. And I said, boy, that's a big word for a 7-year-old, but the gauntlet has been thrown down and I will pick it up. And so I picked up my mythical tack driving 39A, and I didn't even have to put a round in the chamber because there was already a round in there. And I raised up those iron sights, and at 150 yards, I only took one shot. And that day, just across the Dan Ryan, we added 2 more eunuchs to the squirrel community. That's how incredible my rifle is. So don't tell me that my shots are bad out here and you only see 6 of those holes. I bet you 4 of those holes had another shot go through it. That's how impressive I am, son. That's my tack driving 22. That's my skill. And that's my boy. He knows the word genitalia at his age. He's good. Yeah, but aren't you the same guy that was here last week complaining that a raccoon had gotten into your garbage and you dumped a whole tube of 22 on him from your 39A and he didn't even flinch and just kind of ran away because you ran up and tried to hit him with the rifle? What you talking about? That was my evil twin sister that did that. Why, I ran outside in the darkness with no moonlight and I had cloud cover. You talk about dark, and I grabbed that rifle away from her and I put one bullet in the chamber and I kind of aimed, you know, he's only 20 yards away. It's not like I'm gonna miss. And I shot him so cleanly through the head that he was in a death pose right there on the top of my garbage can as if he was still eating. You could have taken a photo of him a minute later. And I walked up that 20 yards and I touched him with my index finger and he fell right into the can, and I put the lid on and I said, evil twin sister, let us repose ourselves inside with a can of beer because I'm going to let waste management deal with this problem from henceforth. That's how good of a shot I am, son. That's how good my rifle is. It's a 22 long rifle 39A from my grandpappy on his deathbed, and it's the best gun ever made.